Hey guys, welcome back to Life Up Education TV. Today, once again, we're here with Alex and Thomas. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about why is cynicism louder than dreams or hopes and dreams or even positivity or inspiration. Okay, let's talk about that. The reason I wanted to choose this topic is because like three of us are very like open-minded, and three of us are very like ambitious, and we chose a route where we don't give a fuck about cynicism. We don't give a fuck about data. We don't give a fuck about like we choose to see the positivity in life, and we're practical in that way. Like we like to produce something. So that being said, let's talk about that. This is going to be discussion form. So can I ask you for your opinion first?
Sure.
Why do you think cynicism talks so much louder? So let's give you one context, one scenario.
Okay.
This is something that I saw yesterday on TikTok, where you know will.i.am,
Yeah.
the artist.
Yeah, I know.
He was telling the story about one time his mom told him like, well, like you need to get a job, and Will said, I already have a job. I actually already have a career. It's not paying me yet, but this is my career. And I was so emotional when I saw it. Like,
Aww.
when I watch it,
Yeah.
the only thing I see is encouragement. The only thing I think of is just like how amazing that is, right? Like encouragement and inspiration. That's what I choose to see. That's what I'm looking for in my brain. And then on the other hand, there was this 40-something years old guy, very cynical about life. He's probably hurt a lot, where he talks about, this is the beginning of homelessness. This thinking is the beginning of homelessness. And then there's another teenage boy jump into this conversation and be like, I'm not experienced enough, so I don't know what is right or wrong in this situation. And I just couldn't help reaching out to this teenage boy and tell him that there is no fact. And I told him there is no fact here. Fact is what makes you, right? Like, so that being said, what I wanted to say is, you can be homeless, sure, but are you gonna stop there? Are you gonna become homeless and you're done? Or are you willing to be homeless, but you're not gonna let yourself lose at that point? Like your game is not over yet there, right? Like that's the amount of courage, that's the amount of commitment and decisiveness it takes for someone to really want to pursue their dream, right? So that's just kind of how I perceive it. And given that story, my message is like, it's not about positive thinking. Like my approach is very practical. It's still logical. Like if you can't make money, yeah, you'll be homeless. But at the same token, like your decisiveness, your commitment to your dream, like has to be at that level. Like you needed to accept that practicality, cynicism, whatever, but you can't let that cynicism to control your life. You're owner. Like you can control how you use that narration. You can control how you use that emotion. Like these emotions are not your owners, right? Like that's just kind of how I look at it. Let's hear what you think of that situation.
What I think.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, that was like a lot. Yeah, well, I don't know. Like this is something that's kind of close to me because I used to be homeless, and that like this part, because for me, I had a little bit different thing though. I was a bit more money now since I was homeless. Money later was just like, who would ever want to do that? You know what I mean? Because you're homeless, right? You gotta eat now. So I never had this idea of money later, or follow a dream that pays you like a lot later. It was very short term, etc. But now later, when I got older, you start thinking about investments, you start thinking about like, how can I invest my time and become somebody that pays me for, or like in a dream or something like that. And I would say that one thing I think I told you as well, Natsune, I stopped my acting career to basically get paid now, and have some safety in my finances to then later be able to do acting without any stress, right? And I can really relate to will.i.am in this, where I wish I was brave enough as will.i.am. I wish that I did that. I wish that I didn't pursue something that I actually didn't want to do just to create like a very safe income. And I was quite unhappy like trying to pursue that. And then finally now, when things are a lot, that safe income that I was pursuing so much became a passive income, now I can pursue my dreams again. But it felt like there was a bit of time wasted. I would have, rather have done what Nuts is talking about, where I kind of like pursue my dream rather than being cynical of myself. Yeah, that was it.
All right, and I'm gonna move on to Alex real quick, but I wanted to make a quick comment here. Like cynicism is not necessarily bad feeling, right? Like a cynicism is not necessarily the demon or like something bad. I think, we are stupid as a human. Like human beings are stupid. So we like to not think. We like to automate things, and we like to that's why bias happens. That's why psychology happens. Like that's why we're driven by irrational decisions many times, right? So here the same thing again here. Like cynicism is not necessarily the demon, and I think actually completely demonizing cynicism might make people soft whenever they meet adversity. And that was my whole point, where when I said to that teenage boy that, I mean, of course it might happen, but are you gonna still pursue it? Instead of looking at that as like a miserable thing that you can never overcome, but better approach is why don't you become stronger so that you can address those challenges? Why don't you become more capable instead of avoiding from those things? You know what I mean? You get to the core of the problem that way. So to me, the way, I guess, one of the way I came as a conclusion lately is that instead of avoiding these negativity or rejecting them, I actually recognized that there's some practicality in it. It's it could be a criticism.
Yeah.
Criticism, but basically what I mean to say is there's some practicality in it, but the problem is, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna given that fact, are you just not gonna pursue whatever, right? So that was why I said, another time I posted this, another Instagram post, I said, in your individual life, don't use your data to prevent, but use it to protect. And that was what I meant. You know what I mean? So let's ask Alex about this. What do you think about, why is cynicism so much louder than inspiration, positivity?
I would say, first and foremost, there's different kinds of cynicism. And I think if without cynicism at all, we wouldn't have things like stand-up comedy. Because a lot of stand-up comedy is rooted in very cynical ideas or ways of thinking or observations. So cynicism can be productive. It just depends on if the cynicism is self-defeating or if it is put to use in a positive manner. And also, culturally, Western culture, you can speak more on Japanese culture than I can, but in America, we like us some bad news. We like scandals. We like to see celebrities doing embarrassing things. That's why you don't hear about all of the philanthropy that some of these wealthy celebrities are doing. You only hear about the bad stuff. Bill Gates is a good example. He's been in the media a lot lately because people think he's plotting a conspiracy to infect everybody with like chips through COVID vaccines.
Yeah.
But you hear that, but nobody talks about the millions of children's lives he saved through bringing vaccines to third world countries where they can't afford vaccines. So he's literally saved millions of lives, but you never hear that in the news. Former President Jimmy Carter, from what I wasn't alive when he was president, but from what I've heard, he was, average. He was so-so. But since his presidency, since he finished in office until now, because he's still alive, him and his wife have been building houses for people. You never hear about that. But you hear about, Melania Trump was seen wearing socks that don't match her shoes. You know what I mean? we like problems for people. We don't care about how good somebody is in our media. I think that's partially why. And it's just, I think unhappy people are often louder than happy people. Because happy people are more content. This is a generalization, but I think most happy people have a level of contentment that they don't have to shout to the world. Because being happy implies, that you're just settled and satisfied. But when you're dissatisfied, discontent, cynical, and unhappy, you are more subjective to external factors. And a lot of people use that on social media to say cynical things or to attention seek. And I think, people seeking attention online often receive it. And I think that's a big factor is I think it's just volume a lot of times.
No, something makes sense. Like when you are satisfied within yourself, like you don't necessarily feel like you need people's attention or you're like lacking something, right? Because you're like already complete within yourself and you don't necessarily have to make any noise to it. If anything, like for example, me, like something that I did, a transformation that I did was like after I became like so grateful or like, after I noticed like how grateful I am and how amazing my life is, in short, I noticed that like if anything, if I want to make noise, I only want to make noise that's more positive, like positivity impacting to people rather than like cynicism. But at the same time, coming back to my previous point, I would also say that it's not one side or the other. Like when you're not balanced, actually it makes you more vulnerable. Like you kind of have to understand when to use what in order for you to navigate through different events in life. So you don't have to be on one side of the extreme or the other side, because there's different times and needs that require you to have different qualities. Otherwise you become too soft. So that's it. That's the summary. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.